Well, good evening once again, beautiful jazz musicians of University Prep. It's time again for tonight's Vinyl Delights. Tonight, I was inspired by a couple of different things. One, I've been just thinking about all the amazing friends of mine who have been doing so many amazing creative things over the last week and a half to bring us all joy and to put art out and music out into the world. One of those people is Steve Treseler, who some of you know. He has been around the band at workshops and clinics and festivals, and we've talked about him and watched his videos and played his improv games. He has been doing amazing work in the last week and a half on the education front. He released a new record. He's just a tremendous all-around force of good in the world and just a phenomenal musician, so I'm happy to feature him. And the wonderful trumpet player Ingrid Jensen. Steve and Ingrid put out an album, I think it was last year, called Invisible Sounds for Kenny Wheeler. This is a record that is in tribute to the great Canadian trumpet, flugelhorn player, composer, arranger, all-around amazing musician. Kenny Wheeler passed away a few years ago, and Steve and Ingrid decided to make this record to pay tribute to his music. This is a beautiful vinyl on Whirlwind Recordings. It's a double album with a beautiful gatefold cover. Check this out. It's got liner notes by Nick Smart and beautiful photos of the band, and the band is killing. Oh my goodness, many of them have ties to Seattle. We've got Jeffrey Keyser on the piano, one of the most just ferocious keyboard players around. Katie Jacobson, wonderful vocalist from right here in Seattle. Martin Wind, incredible bass player. Originally from Germany, now I think he lives in New York, but I don't know that for sure. Christine Jensen, Ingrid's sister. John Weekon on drums, that's Ingrid's husband, and he was from here in Seattle. And there's Ingrid and Steve right there. Steve is from Seattle, Ingrid is from British Columbia. So, now that we have the introductions out of the way, I want you to groove to this tune that we're listening to right now. It's called Where Do We Go From Here? I picked this for a couple of reasons. One, because I thought the title was interesting in our times right now, and a question that we're probably, well, most certainly going to ask ourselves over the next days, weeks, months, and probably years. But also because this performance, I think, highlights what I love about these musicians so much. This song, well, let me back up. A lot of jazz performances, we got head, solo, 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 head, right? And this song follows that same format. They play the music, they play the melody, and then solos ensue, and then they play the melody, right? But what's different about this performance is that I feel like rather than each solo having its own sort of arc and its own ebb and flow, the whole song feels like it's one big arc, one story, one ebb and flow, even as the solos are doing their own thing. But I just love how they state the melody, then Steve plays a beautiful solo that takes from the melody and sort of sets the stage for everything that comes after it. And then Ingrid takes over and plays an amazing solo on the flugelhorn and ramps it up a little bit. And then Keyser, who you're hearing right now, takes over on the piano and just launches us into the stratosphere. It's just a remarkable instance of group interplay and a band making a statement. Each individual player is making their own statement, but they're also concerned, maybe I might suggest maybe even more concerned, with the overall statement that the band is making. So think about that the next time you are approaching a solo, right? Solo we think about as me time. We even call them solos, and I've said this before. I wish we didn't call them solos. They're not solos, they're conversations, right? So next time you're having a conversation, see if you can figure out how to make your part of that conversation part of the larger conversation, right? So when you're listening to this, see if you can dig what I'm talking about here. See if you can sort of follow that story as each subsequent musician takes over and tells their part of that story. And then there's a really cool part at the end where Ingrid is just kind of going off for a while, and then Steve joins her, and it's just a cool little improv moment. So I really hope you dig this. One thing you should know is that they sold this record on Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a tremendous platform for independent musicians to sell our music. I've been putting my music on Bandcamp for years. They pay the artists well. They treat the artists well. They give us all sorts of tools to help us sell our music. And today, they are not taking a cut of any sales. And they make all their money off of the cut that they take from sales, right? That's how they make their living at this company. Well, they've decided to give all that money back to the musicians because they know musicians are hurting so hard right now. So if you were so inclined, if you listen to this and you think, oh my God, I have to own that record, go to bandcamp.com, search for Ingrid Jensen and Steve Treseler. And if you buy it, Ingrid and Steve get a little bit more money in their pockets than they would on any other day. So just thought I would throw that out there. And yet another reason that I wanted to feature this album today, so I could tell you about Bandcamp. All right. I hope you're well, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I know we're diving into the next chapter of the Ted Goya book, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your Audacity recordings of your combo tunes. So I look forward to checking those out next week and seeing what we can piece together, see what kind of beauty we can put out into the world while we're not in the same room. All right. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I'll be back tomorrow for tonight's Final Delights.